How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today, if you're watching this video on the day it came out, is Halloween, which is great. To everybody watching, happy Halloween, and to celebrate, let's talk about a Halloween movie. Today, we're going to be talking about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, from 1995. This is directed by Joe Chappelle, and once again stars Donald Pleasence. Donald Pleasence is amazing. Him and his character, Dr. Loomis, were in every Halloween movie up until now, with the exception of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and he really does great work for this franchise. Sadly, this is his last appearance, as Donald Pleasence would die shortly after filming, and in the ending credits it says, "In memory of Donald Pleasence." Sad that he won't be in another one. He was really great and did wonders for these movies. Another interesting thing in the credits, this movie features Paul Rudd as a grown-up version of Tommy Doyle, the little kid that Laurie Strode was babysitting in part 1. And interesting enough, the credit line reads, "Introducing Paul Stephen Rudd." You know, Stephen, his middle name. He would later remove that from the billing. And also introducing, you know, this was way before he was really famous for being Ant-Man and stuff. Back when you needed to introduce Paul Rudd. That's a crazy concept, but another horror movie that features a before they were famous appearance by a big actor. Now, this is the last movie in the main line of Halloween films. Halloween 1, 2, and 4, 5, and 6 are the main timeline, but after this movie, it wasn't super well received. They would do a really hard reboot and make the H2O universe, followed by the zombie universe, followed by the Blumhouse universe, and we've never gone back to the main timeline since. So, last Donald Pleasence movie, last main timeline movie, you know, the end of the run, you know. Now, this movie, before I get in, there's something I really do need to say about it, and that is there are two notable cuts of this movie. What everybody saw, the theatrical cut, but also the producer's cut, which had been kind of rumored and circulated, but finally got an official Blu-ray release, which I do have here. Now, the producer's cut, producer referring to Moustapha Akkad. He's been there since part 1. He's the guy responsible for getting the sequels after part 3 off the ground. He's done so much great work for this franchise, and this is the cut that's closer to his original vision. Obviously, it's not perfect because there was so much trouble behind the scenes, but this is closer. Now, after they made this cut of the movie, Dimension wanted to make it more hip and trendy for the 90s and whatnot, and in my opinion, made it way worse. You can also look up who was the head of Dimension at the time. A very notable scumbag. But they changed a lot of stuff, and in my opinion, lots of it were bad decisions. First of all, they cut out a ton of Donald Pleasence stuff. I guess they thought he was older and boring and the kids wouldn't like him. They'd want someone hip and trendy. So Donald Pleasence's final performance gets watered down in the theatrical cut. There's also an annoying orange color filter over most of the movie. The soundtrack in the producer's cut was much more of Carpenter's music and music that sounded like that. This new one has hip 90s music, and there's also these transitions of like knives and people screaming that come out of nowhere, and just the editing of this movie is just jumpy and terrible. And yeah, you don't want the theatrical cut, you know. The other one, much more like the rest of the series, calls it back more, lets things breathe. Also, the producer's cut, not on this release sadly, but in its title card does feature the actual number 6, and I kind of don't like how they cut that out of the title. So yeah, it's my preferred cut. And I think it's way better. If you're only going to watch one, watch the producer's cut. And also the magic and stuff makes a lot more sense in that cut, you know, so I definitely prefer it. If you guys want to know all the little differences, there's another YouTuber, Dead Meat, that did a comparison between the two. It is a really good video, and if you want to know all the ins and outs, go check that one out. But personally, I like the producer's cut way, way better. But some people, I learned, like, I thought everyone liked the producer's cut better, but turns out some people like the theatrical, and if that's nostalgia, I guess I get it. And there is one thing that people, we'll get to that later, that people like better. But personally, I like the other one. Now, if you guys want to leave in the comments what's your preferred cut, that's fine. Civil discussion is encouraged. But personally, nah on the theatrical for me. I've seen both cuts multiple times. Gotta go with producers. But anyway, I feel like this movie is kind of like Alien 3. Alien 3 had a lot more going on for it than people thought initially. It's just it got people mad. You know, Alien 3 ticked people off right off the bat, and it took lots and lots of time for people to reappraise it. In this movie, it does have a lot going for it. There's more plot and better kills, you know, like especially when compared to 5. And there is stuff there. There is a fair bit to like with this movie. Sad thing is, though, it made people angry, and there's primarily 2 reasons for that. One is the cult/magic stuff, and, you know, there was a hint of magic in Part 5, but they really go all in on it, and it just doesn't feel like a regular Halloween slasher movie, and a lot of people like, this cult just comes out of nowhere and takes everything over, and a lot of people really don't like that. The other reason, and the reason that gets me more, it's like, the cult, yeah, I get it's not that great, but I'm not terribly torn up about it. The thing about this movie that I really don't like is how it treats the character of Jamie, which we'll get more into in a bit. But Jamie, the nice young girl from Halloween 4 and 5, really gets a hard ending in this movie. And I don't know why they went so hard on such a nice character, and it's really messed up and dark and disturbing, and it's like, why would you do this? So yeah, that's really what gets me, and it's really hard to look past that for me when I go back and I determine which movies I like better than others. What they did to Jamie is bad, and we'll get into that in just a second. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the story's about. And we open up with Jamie. In the producer's cut, there's a flashback to the end of Part 5 where they add new footage and show that both Michael Myers and Jamie got picked up by the Cult of Thorn. This is really good. It helps set the stage and helps remind you about Part 5. But in the regular cut, we wake up and Jamie is just being wheeled through these weird catacombs by cultists. But yeah, ever since Part 5, Jamie's been kidnapped. So for 6 years, she's been imprisoned by a cult. A third of her life. That's a sucky fate. On top of that, she's pregnant now. She's been forcibly impregnated, which also sucks. And now that she's given birth to the baby, they're going to sacrifice it. So right off the bat, starting pretty hard and dark with this character. Now, you know how I said there's one thing in the theatrical cut that a lot of people like better than the producers? In the theatrical cut, they later find a room with a bunch of, you know, test tube babies and fish tanks and genetic research, and they try to imply that the baby she had was, like, scientifically grown, and a lot of people find this slightly less disturbing. Still disturbing, but slightly less disturbing. Personally, though, like, they show a chart on the wall, and there's, like, a DNA helix with runes pointing at various parts, implying that the cult has genetically engineered a baby for maximum magical sacrifice potential. And I just find that's kind of silly, you know, genetically engineering a magic baby to get the most bang for your sacrifice. I just find that's kind of silly. But anyway, She gives birth to this baby. The cult's about to sacrifice it. And luckily for Jamie, a nurse comes in and saves her, and she goes on the run. And we get an opening scene with Jamie running around. I should have pointed this out earlier, but Jamie also is no longer played by Danielle Harris. That sucks as well. Danielle Harris is a great actor. I would have loved to see her come back, but what you gonna do? Probably best for her that she avoided this movie. But anyway, she's on the run, and to be honest, the whole movie should have been her on the run. Her on the run is interesting and different, and if the whole movie was a big chase focusing on a character we knew, and it was like a road trip movie, that would have been fun and different, and I would have liked that movie way better. But the road trip stuff is just at the beginning. She runs through a train station before eventually getting to a barn where Michael Myers finds her and kills her. So yeah, Jamie's dead. The character that we found in 4 and 5, the nice little girl everybody loved, is just dead really early on in this movie after having 6 years of miserable treatment. Like, I don't know why they gave that character such a hard fate. They did, though. It's terrible. You know how I said spoilers for the past movies? But Halloween 4, it sucked that Laurie Strode died off screen. Halloween 5, it sucked that Rachel died really early. But Halloween 6, having Jamie get such a bad fate and then die really early, it not only sucks, but it's just really freaking messed up, you know? Like, why take this character that we love, a child, mind you, and give her such a hard fate? That's just bad. But anyway, she dies, but before she dies, she does 2 things. One, she hides the baby, which is good. Michael Myers won't get it now. And 2, she calls in to a local radio show. The radio is doing a special on Michael Myers, so everyone listening, all the people who are interested are listening to that. And she calls in and tells a little bit about what's going on. Sadly, she's not more thorough. You think you call in, you have the public eye, my name, my location, send help. She doesn't do that, though. But it's enough for the people in the know to figure out what's going on. Donald Pleasence and Paul Rudd both hear this and both spring into action. Let's talk about what their characters are doing. Donald Pleasence is retired, and retirement seems to be doing good for him. He's got plastic surgery to fix his face. He's much more calm than we saw him at Part 5. Poor guy in Part 5 was worked into a frazzle. And here we see him really enjoying retirement, writing memoirs. Overall, he's doing fine. Dr. Wynn shows up, who's the current head of Smiths Grove Sanitarium, and says, "Hey, Loomis, I'm about to retire myself. Do you want to just freaking run the place?" And Sam Loomis is like, "Oh no, it's a good job, but I don't want to go back in there. I don't want to go back to the hospital life, you know," so he's not wanting to do this. The 2 of them are together when they hear the radio, and they know that Jamie has escaped, and the 2 head back to Haddonfield to try to find her and save her. It's a girl that Dr. Loomis thought was dead for 6 years, that he really cared about and worked really hard to try to save, so he's gonna want to go and find her. Then we get Paul Rudd's character, Tommy Doyle, who after escaping Michael Myers in the first one, has become paranoid and obsessive and really wants to stop Michael Myers. He hears the thing on the radio, and because he was recording, he's able to rewind it and hear background noise and figure out that she was at the train station. He goes there, and for whatever reason, despite being overnight and lots of people around now, there's still blood everywhere, and he's able to follow that and find the baby, which he names Steven. I kind of find it funny that Paul Rudd's character names the baby after the actor's middle name. Whatever, though. So now Paul Rudd's there, and he's carrying this baby around, and Paul Rudd is a huge weirdo in this movie. I find it pretty entertaining. He is a weirdo, but he's running around, and just every little thing he does seems way too intense and over the top. and no one's gonna trust this guy. They give him a really bad character introduction, though. The girl who's gonna be this movie's final girl finds him across the way. He's in the house next door, watching her, even with a camera, as she's changing, and she thinks Paul Rudd's a massive creep. Well, it turns out he's doing that because he's keeping an eye out for Michael Myers, but still, the first glimpse of him we get as an audience makes us think he's some sort of weirdo, and it's not the best character introduction. But let's talk about why he was looking at the house. You see, Paul Rudd is in a boarding house that's right next to the old Myers house. And what's in the old Myers house? Well, Laurie Strode's dad could never sell it, so he gave it to his brother as a gift. So, Laurie Strode's dad's brother is living there with his family. And, wife, older daughter, younger brother. But the older daughter, that's going to be your point of view character, had a baby and there's no father in the picture. So she had to move back home to save money so she can go to college and get a better life for her and her son. Overall, a really sympathetic character. You want to see her and her son succeed. And I like her as a lead. She's pretty cool. However, the parents are very, well, the dad is very mean, drunk and abusive, and will say horrible things. A despicable character. And the mom just kind of puts up with it. She's the battered housewife. And to make things worse, this leads to one of the worst Easter eggs in horror movie history. These two characters, who are not great characters, are named John and Deborah, after John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who created the first movie. It's like, okay, we know those names and we like them. Why would you have their names be the names of bad characters, especially John, who his character in the movie is a huge jerk? This is a really bad Easter egg. But you want to know another name Easter egg? The older sister's son is named Danny, after Danny Torrance from The Shining. And while you may think I'm just spitballing and, a weird kid named Danny, later on the mom gets locked in a room numbered 237, so no, it is an Easter egg. But Danny, like I said, a weird kid, he's been hearing voices in his head and drawing disturbing pictures. The man in black is whispering in his ear, and Michael Myers is showing up outside his window. So the cult and Michael Myers both want Jamie's baby and also this Danny kid for some reason. So why? Well, we'll find all that out in a minute. All the pieces move together. All the pieces try to protect the younger members of the cast. And of course, Michael Myers comes and picks them off. There's also this thing about how Halloween hasn't been celebrated in this town since Part 5. And the teenagers want to bring it back because they want to party and celebrate. And there's a radio DJ there, and they're all gonna get picked off and killed. They're gonna be cannon fodder, basically. Now, the story does a few cool things. There are better kills here than in Part 5. The nurse at the beginning gets her head through a stake. The electrical box kill is cool. The dimension cut of the electrical box kill gets to be a little funny and over the top, which, you know, the dimension cut does have more gore and more kills, and they're kind of silly, but, you know, I'll take them, you know, right? But also, the Red Rain kill, that's a pretty classic kill reveal right there. So there are some cool slasher moments, and the slasher bits are fun. It's just, there's a whole lot of magic and a whole lot of cults. And if you want this to make sense, and if you want this plot to have more time to breathe, you definitely want to look at the producer's cut. Things are just spelled out there more, and they make more sense there more. But, you know, even though it's spelled out and makes sense, you know, that's the thing with the producer's cut, is it's a lot better, but it doesn't fix all this movie's issues, but I definitely prefer it. But yeah, it's one of those things where there are parts that I do like, and this isn't the worst movie ever. I do like our, you know, final girl protagonist, you know, having a kid that's legitimately her own instead of someone she's babysitting. makes her interesting. She wants to get to a better point in her life. You can relate to that, and Paul Rudd's a funny weirdo, you know? And maybe not everyone's gonna like his performance, but I just love how weird Paul Rudd is in this movie. You know, there is a fair bit to like here, but sadly it's hard to look past the bad elements, and that, first and foremost, is what they did to Jamie. They didn't bring Danielle Harris back, and they gave her a super hard and super dark ending that was really unwarranted, especially, you know, that's the ending you gave to the sweet little girl character from 4 and 5. And that's just, that sucks, and that makes it hard to enjoy the rest of the movie. Anyway, as far as franchise ranking, I'd say between 5 and 6, you know, 5 isn't got as memorable moments in it, but it's not got offensive stuff that I don't like. You know, it didn't make me mad, so I say 5 probably floats a little bit on the top, even though the story elements and stuff like that are probably bigger and more interesting here. The fact is, this one makes me mad, so I think I put 5 a little above this. Is this worse than Resurrection? I don't know. I need to rewatch Resurrection. And maybe someday I'll do a complete ranking video. But yeah, if you're a slasher geek, there's stuff to like here. If you like the franchise, you might as well watch this one. But yeah, this got some major problems, and it's either the worst in the franchise or the second worst, and I'm not entirely sure. Probably the worst, because I think if you want dumb fun, Resurrection has some dumb fun in there. So, I don't know. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Halloween playlist. If you guys want to see more Halloween reviews, I've reviewed the first 5 movies in the series already, and I've also reviewed the first Blumhouse movie and the new Halloween Kills, and there's a few extra videos in that playlist as well, just my thoughts on random things. So if you want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant Halloween playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.